The God of gods!
Okay, so hi, welcome. Today I wanted to talk about the Samsung Galaxy A51. This is a relatively new phone. I mean, I believe it was released in December of 2019, which was like 2 months ago. And for the most part, this is a really decent phone. I mean, I used this phone for just a little over a week. I put it through its paces just so I could get what I would call a relatively balanced experience with the device. I wanted to know if it was actually worth your money, if the phone performs as well as a lot of other people who have reviewed the device says it does. And there were a lot of things about the device that I didn't like. I'm not going to lie about that. There was some other things that absolutely surprised me and I absolutely loved them. It's sort of a mixed bag, this phone. So it's a lot of great things about the phone and then it's a lot of other things that are not so great. So in this video, I'm going to break down all my thoughts about this device from all the different categories that I could possibly review this phone from as a regular user. I am not somebody who games heavily on my phone or anything like that, just a regular day-to-day user. This is my opinion of the Samsung Galaxy A51 and I hope you enjoyed the video. First things first, the first thing that you see or that you notice with this device when you pick it up is the design of the device, and it looks absolutely fantastic. I mean, for the most part, looks are not all that you need in a phone. Yes, we get that, but it's always nice to have a device that actually looks premium, looks like something that was made this year, looks relatively futuristic and doesn't look like something that was like from 1998. So I love the fact that Samsung actually put some thought into the design of this device and they made it look really good. The other thing that you notice immediately after actually picking up the device is the build quality and the way it feels in your hand. And I think this is probably the department where Samsung let me down a little bit. Holding the phone felt like a paperweight. It didn't have any weight or F to it and it just felt very plasticky, because yes, the phone is actually mainly plastic. There is like an aluminum rim around the phone, but for the most part it's a plastic phone, and plastic is plastic and it will feel cheap. No matter how you try to polish it or make it look nice, it still felt like a cheap phone. Now, speaking of the advantages of using plastic for the design of this phone, however, is going to have to be the durability. I mean, obviously if you're using any type of Gorilla Glass, the moment you drop the phone, you're probably panicking thinking, okay, I've definitely broken it. But with plastic, it's a little more durable. And I did have an experience where this phone actually dropped and I worried that it might be broken, but when I picked it up, it was absolutely fine. I love the fact that Samsung managed to make a featherweight feeling phone extra durable. Now, the next thing that you notice again when you pick up the phone and actually turn it on is the AMOLED screen on this device. So it's a 6.5-inch screen, 1080 by 2400 pixels, and it looks fantastic. It's also Super AMOLED, and as far as displays goes, Samsung absolutely knocks this out of the park. Like, looking at this device makes you hate any other phone that you have that has like an LCD screen or anything. It looks beautiful. Like, you almost want to lick the screen every time you have to look at the screen of this device. The punch hole notch thing that they have going on is actually also not too intrusive. I mean, for the most part, it's not too large, it's not too stressful, and it just stays there and you don't actually have to worry about it. It doesn't, stress you out or bother you like the iPhones with the swimming pool notch or anything like that. The single hole punch in the center seems relatively fair to me. It's a nice trade-off to have a clean looking device like this as opposed to having one of those water drop weird looking notches that a bunch of other budget phones around this price actually have. Now, as far as performance goes, the phone that I tested had 4GB of RAM and 120GB of internal storage, which is actually relatively decent. The Exynos 9611 chipset and an octa-core CPU, which worked fantastic for the most part. I don't think the entire time that I had this phone, I had any reason to feel like I needed to, get another phone or grab another phone, or there was any task I threw at it that it didn't handle perfectly. The entire experience using this phone for the entire week plus that I had it was fantastic. I enjoyed playing light games with it, texting, YouTubing, whatever you want to call it, Netflix. I had such a good time using this phone. As far as performance goes, there is nothing to worry about with this phone. Like, it's such a great performer that I almost don't see any reason why this phone can't be your daily driver. Like, forget about the fact that it's only $320. It can actually still run as your daily driver. Now, speaking a little bit more about performance, let's talk about the battery life. A 4000 mAh battery on this device works fairly well. It's not small and it's not ridiculously large. It performs decently. Like, I can charge the phone full before I step out of the house in the morning, and by the end of the day I'll still have around 10 to 12% battery if I'm not using the phone to game all day or anything like that. If I'm simply taking phone calls, replying messages, texting my friends, tweeting, using Instagram sparingly throughout the day, and doing a bunch of other things as well, the phone holds up with the 4000 milliamp hour battery, and I was actually quite pleased with the performance as far as the battery life goes. Now, the part where this phone begins to let me down though is going to have to be the cameras. It's got 4 cameras on the back and it can barely take a decent photo. I mean, maybe saying it can't take a decent photo is a little harsh, but the fact is, what is the point of the 4 cameras on this phone when Google Pixel, the original Pixel from 2015, has a better camera than the phone? I'm an automatic shooter. When I grab my phone and I want to take a quick photo, I'm not trying to fiddle with the exposure dials or try to change anything or use manual focus or anything like that. I just want to take a photo, have the phone process it, and have a fantastic photo to just post on social media or send to my friends or something like that. I don't want to start worrying about downloading Snapseed and doing all these other weird filtering things, editing my photos to make them look decent. That's an absolute waste of my time, and I really wouldn't spend my time doing that. So for the most part, using this phone to take photos did not please me. I mean, after a while, I started to understand the situations where I shouldn't really use this phone to take photos. When it's extremely dark, when I'm indoors like this, when I am in a situation where there's no sunlight and it's not super bright, this phone is not the phone to use to take photos. But when you're outside and it's really sunny and bright and beautiful out, and you take photos with this phone, they look pretty decent. But for the most part, the cameras on the back of this phone were a huge disappointment for me. I mean, a 48 megapixel main shooter, a 12 megapixel ultra wide sensor, a 5 megapixel sensor for the depth, and another 5 megapixel sensor for the macro. I'm not even sure why there are so many cameras, but as a whole, in automatic mode trying to take a photo, this do not impress me. Moving to the front facing camera, it's just as bad. I mean, 32 megapixels of selfie camera that can barely take a decent selfie, constantly blurring out parts of your subject when you're trying to take photos in portrait mode, and it just looks wonky at best. Like, it's really difficult for me to recommend this phone based on the cameras alone. They're just not that great. Like, performance wise, this is probably the only part or the main part of the A51 that makes me feel like this is not a decent phone to buy. As far as taking videos go, this phone actually lets you shoot up to 4K footage at 30 FPS on the cameras on the back, and you can shoot up to 1080p 30 frames per second on your selfie camera. On the back camera, you can also take slow motion video up to 120 frames per second in 1080p, which I thought was pretty awesome. Now, the next thing that I'd like to talk about with this phone is the fingerprint sensor. It's like an ultrasonic under the screen fingerprint sensor thing, and for the most part it works fine. The only problem though is when you start comparing the speed of this ultrasonic under the screen sensor for the fingerprint to other phones around this price point, this phone comes in last. Like, it's literally the slowest of the bunch. The Xiaomi A3 is faster, the Mi 90 is faster, so I don't really understand why this phone has to be so slow. Performance wise, it's a really fast phone, so how is it so slow to unlock the phone? Now, speaking about the bits of the phone that are actually physical, if you're somebody who likes to store a lot of media on your phone, you can actually still expand the memory of the phone, as well as using 2 SIM cards with your phone, which is pretty fantastic for people who live in third world countries and have to have different networks running on your phones. You also get an headphone jack. I mean, headphone jacks are kind of going away now, but I like the fact that Samsung still tries to put this on a lot of their devices. It's really helpful to be able to get high fidelity audio out of your device if you're somebody who still likes using wired headphones or studio monitoring headphones like I do sometimes. The physical bits of this phone, however, that I absolutely do not like is going to have to be the speakers on the phone. They're just absolutely abysmal. First of all, no matter how you want to hold your phone, whether horizontally or vertically, if you're playing games, texting or whatever, and there's music playing out of your phone or something, the audio is going to get blocked. Beyond the fact that it's going to get blocked, even if you manage to not block the speakers, they don't sound that great. They sound really teeny, there's no bass, it's a single bottom firing mono speaker, and it's just really bad. But I think for me personally, that's about the extent of how I use my phones. When I buy a phone, I use the camera sometimes. I use the phone to play a few games like word games and puzzles and chess and stuff. I take phone calls, I send messages, I push the performance a little bit, try and see how it works with my internet connection, how fast it is, if it can actually set up Wi-Fi for my other devices in the house and stuff like that. And for the most part, this phone performed really well. But you see, here's the main reason why I have a gripe with this phone: the price. It's $320 as at the time I'm making this video. For that price, there are so many other devices that I could get that would be a better deal than this phone right now. I mean, think about this for a second. The Google Pixel 3 XL was the big brother Google flagship from last year, and I can get it today used like new for $280 on Amazon, and it does absolutely everything better than the Samsung Galaxy A51. So I cannot in my right mind think of a situation where I would go out of my way to take money out of my pocket to actually buy this phone. I would always pick the phone that gives me better value for my money every day of the week. So what exactly does the Samsung Galaxy A51 offer that makes it a standout phone that you should actually buy for the money? Why is it more expensive than other phones in this price point? Why is it not better by far to justify the $320 price tag? The honest answer is, I don't know. At $320, there's a bunch of other phones that you could buy. But the fact is though, this is a Samsung phone, and if I know anything about Samsung phones, it's that after a while the price drops and it starts to naturalize to where the price really should have been since launch. So my prediction is in the next few months, say 3, 4, 5 months, the price of this phone is going to drop to somewhere around $250 or just a little below. And if that price actually ever gets there, then I can honestly tell you, okay, this is a great device to buy and you can just go out and buy it. But at the current price of $320, this is a difficult phone for me to recommend. That does not change the fact that this is actually still a really, really good phone. It's a decent phone. It's just priced wrong, if that makes sense. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I guess I'll see you on another video that was shot by Kagan. Don't forget to subscribe. Peace.